When you fly as knights, you are traveling along a two-dimensional track in 3D space. The track has curves and lines, you move seamlessly from one area to the next, but how does a knight's track work? A knight's track, at its simplest, is a series of circles and transfer points. What does that mean? Well, let's start with a circle. You define the circle using an axis point. An axis defines where the circle is placed, how large it is, and which direction the player will travel along the circle. We'll go over all that later. But a track is a series of these circles. So we'll just place one here, one over there, and a few more over there. Now, as this is, the player can only travel on the first circle. So to travel along all the other circles, you need to define axis transfer points. These points tell the game where to jump from the previous circle to the next circle. Now we can start to have a circuit. To close this circuit, you arrange the circles so that the track will wrap around. When you place an axis transfer between the last circle and the first circle, then you are finished. In a nutshell, now that we have this basic illustration, let's see if we can dive in a little further. When you have a series of circles, you need to define the order that each circle takes place on the track. An order is a number like 1, 2, 3, and 4. The axis transfers get the same corresponding order as well, and it matches the axis point that the transfer will transition to. So for example, from axis point 1, you touch axis transfer 2 to go to circle 2, then you touch axis transfer 3 to go to circle 3, transfer 4 to circle 4, and so on. In addition to order numbers, you also need to define the direction that the player will travel on each circle. So on any given circle, the player can travel in two directions, counter-clockwise and clockwise. In a series, as you transition from circle to circle, you're traveling from one direction to the other. On this circle, you're traveling counterclockwise, but on the next circle, most often you'll travel clockwise. So along the series, the track will just alternate between these directions. So given this information, let's flesh out a little more what a knight's track is. A knight's track is a series of circles, ordered by number, connected by transfer points, and are alternating by direction. As a final note, that last transfer point will be numbered 1 greater than the last circle's order number. So if this is circle 8, the last transfer point will be number 9. Last but not least, there are two items that every knight's track must have. The first is the Idiodrone. This thing allows the player to transform into knights, and it must be placed on the first circle of the track. The second item is the egg capsule. By normal means, the player must destroy this capsule to complete the level. In the game engine, the track must have this item in order to be recognized. On a final note, your level header must have the type of level include Knights mode, or else the track will not work. On normal mode, it glitches out, so make sure you have Knights in your type of level. Now that we have a complete track, let's see how we can create the same track using Zone Builder.